The Marilyn Mystique. Quote, in repose, her face was at moments strangely, prophetically tragic, like the face of a beautiful ghost, a little spring ghost, an innocent fertility daemon, the vegetation spirit that was Ophelia. Edith Sitwell, describing Marilyn Monroe during their meetings in her autobiography, Taken Care Of. And I just want to wish a happy birthday to a woman whose radiant torch remains undimmed 6 decades after the flame in her candle died. She is a star in every sense of that word. The way in which things are represented is all we know. She was Cinderella without the happy ending. Her name is synonymous with the term icon. Sex symbols come and go, but Marilyn Monroe is eternal. Born in 1926, she died at the age of 36. Her short span of existence is irrevocably connected with the scandal of her sad, untimely death, which remains a riddle, wrapped in a mystery, inside an enigma. Some call it suicide or an accidental overdose of drugs and alcohol. Others call it assassination. 2 high-profile men to whom she was romantically linked at the end of her life, one, John F. Kennedy, the leader of the free world at the time, the other, Robert Kennedy, his brother, and the U.S. Attorney General, were both eventually assassinated. Speculation about her death still remains rampant, and investigations into it continue to fascinate the public. When the past dies, there is mourning, but when the future dies, our imaginations are compelled to carry it on. Some believe her death averted a political imbroglio that would have boded ill for the Kennedy legacy. We'll never know all the facts of her death. We do know a little bit about her life. She was, by all accounts, beautiful, vulnerable, needy, ambitious, introverted, and a gifted actress. A survivor of childhood traumas, her personal life was played out on the public stage, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. Her contract with the film industry was connubial, but extended beyond Hollywood studios and their autocratic moguls. Marilyn was married to her fans. She courted them, made herself accessible to them, credits them completely for her meteoric rise. Quote, if I'm a star, then the people made me a star. I knew I belonged to the public and to the world, not because I was talented or even beautiful, but because I had never belonged to anything or anyone else. End quote. She came to fame at a time when the reins on an actor's career were controlled by a few abusive men with fat wallets, huge egos, and small consciences. And a celebrity's image was not the celebrity's own to craft. Marilyn was determined to stop playing their game. She left Hollywood, moved to Manhattan, and started her production company with photographer Milton Green when she felt too fenced in. In 1955, at the height of her stardom, she pursued her dreams of artistry. She studied with Lee Strasberg, wrote poetry, read Joyce, Rilke, Tolstoy, and Dostoevsky, sought the company of great poets and writers, married America's greatest playwright of that era, not to mention one of America's greatest all-time athletes. She was attracted to powerful older men, but not for financial gain. She was completely independent and supported herself by dominating the film industry's box offices. She didn't candy coat her failures. She persevered. She overcame challenges like having a stutter. People respect you because they feel you've survived hard times and endured. And although you've become famous, you haven't become phony, she told an interviewer shortly before her death. I like blacks because I know slavery firsthand, Marilyn once said. A champion of civil rights, women's rights, she actively fought for justice and decried bigotry whenever and wherever she witnessed it, before it became fashionable for Hollywood stars to do that. Her intervention on the behalf of Ella Fitzgerald is now legendary. Ella Fitzgerald, the Queen of Jazz, was until then limited to small stages in the city of Los Angeles, despite her exceptional energy, her crystal clear phrasing, her ability to improvise, and her unique voice. Oral history records that in 1955, Marilyn Monroe intervened to solve the problem through an agreement with the owner of the club. In August 1972, Ella Fitzgerald told Ms. Magazine, "I owe Marilyn Monroe a real debt. She personally called the owner of the Mocambo and told him she wanted me booked immediately, and if he would do it, she would take a front table every night." She told him, and it was true, due to Marilyn's superstar status, that the press would go wild. And she continued, "The owner said yes, and Marilyn was there front table every night. The press went overboard. After that, I never had to play a small jazz club again." Marilyn Monroe broke the race barrier with a phone call. Later, in 1958, Lady Ella would be the first Afro-American artist to receive a Grammy Award. She said of Marilyn, she was an unusual woman, a little ahead of her time, and she added, and she didn't know it. Marilyn was a courageous advocate for justice. When her then lover, Arthur Miller, was charged for his staunch defiance of the House Un-American Activities Committee by refusing to name names of the other attendees at the few communist meetings he attended, Marilyn stood by his side in Washington and testified on his behalf against demands by Hollywood studio executives to end her relationship with him. Marilyn Monroe was the embodiment of a prosperous, optimistic American era, becoming a mythological figure who captured the imagination of millions of movie-going fans for well over half a century. She is the ultimate trope for the 1950s, personifying the paradox of post-war America. She represents both the era's glossy, consumer-driven glamour and its strict gender conventions, while her private struggles symbolize the anxieties hidden beneath the decade's cheerful conformist surface. She defined the decade's beauty standard with her platinum hair, red lips, and hourglass figure. She became the gold standard of 1950s hyper-femininity, serving as a symbol of desire and success. While studios typecast her, Monroe brought an innate intelligence, a knowing wink, and an empowering sensuality to her roles, subverting the stereotype of the dumb blonde. She made female sexuality appear joyful rather than strictly taboo or vulgar, challenging and expanding the restrictive morality of the era. I'm not usually interested in Hollywood fodder, but this woman's legacy transcended the film industry. Something about her got beneath our collective skin. One could write endlessly about the gestalt of pop cultural icons such as she. It likely says a great deal more about our Western culture than it does about her, but even when I visited places as far-flung as Japan and China, I saw how she was still venerated. So there must be some universal signifier that she triggers, some vein she taps into that makes her even larger than the life she led. Perhaps it was the archetype so many people want to believe her to be, the impossibly beautiful damsel in distress that nobody rescued. JFK biographer and historian William Manchester attempted to explain the Marilyn mystique. Quote, Marilyn's need to be desired was so great that she could make love to a camera. Because of this, her lust aroused lust in audiences, sometimes even among women. There was nothing subtle about it. She was no tease. She was prepared and even eager to give what she offered, end quote. Yet, she radiated innocence more than glamour. Watch one of her films and see. She was no campy screen siren, nor was she a true femme fatale. She exuded vulnerability. She was someone both men and women could embrace, despite the glossy red lips and platinum blonde hair, despite the bombshell body and cooing voice. There was something incredibly sweet about her, something wide-eyed that needed to be protected and loved, not worshipped. She was accessible, not distant. She projected warmth, vitality, a certain naivete. There was a joie de vivre, a playful giggle of a wriggle, coupled with an incandescent screen presence, a spontaneous sauciness, sassiness. Marilyn was a child woman, a little girl lost. Her persona was ultimately non-threatening. Hungry though she seemed to those who have analyzed the phenomenon of her iconic status, she didn't embody desire in merely the sexual sense. Perhaps it was libidinous too, yes, but it was something far purer, far deeper, far more fundamental than mere eroticism. She personified a freedom, an unashamed and spontaneous acceptance of sensuality, the beauty and childlike enjoyment of giving and receiving pleasure. Marilyn once said, quote, "We are all born sexual creatures, thank God, but it's a pity so many people despise and crush this natural gift," end quote. There was also a sadness, a lingering melancholy there, beneath the ultra-bright smile, a plea for acceptance. There are endless accounts from co-stars and directors about her insecurity on the set during filming, her entourage of personal acting coaches and makeup artists without whose presence she refused to perform, all the delays she caused. And yet, once the performance was eventually captured on film, and directors and editors saw the dailies, her luminosity took everyone's breath away. She understood the medium, and what angle and lighting suited her better than any other professional. It was a cunning combination of art and science. But fans believe she was made a hand-me-down plaything of an idle hour by men in great power, a misstep that may very well have ended her short life, certainly adds to her lasting appeal. The tragic heroine in the epic struggle between Eros and Thanatos. The girl you want to untie from the railroad tracks and save from the oncoming locomotive. In the end, she was stripped naked and completely desexualized at that moment. Her frailties allowed moderation. a deifying feeding into the enduring myth of the sex goddess. Maybe this says more about her fans than it does about her still. Somehow, for better or worse, she remains in our collective memories forever. Little Norma Jean. She was happiest dreaming, imagining herself with new friends or parents, new skills, new homes. The goal was to get to the next dream, and I think now she is within all of our dreams. She is, in fact, the ultimate dream, and no one can hurt her, and no one can wake her up. Arthur Miller on Marilyn Monroe.